Today is January 1st, 2004. I am 16 and I am pregnant. And I remember being rushed to the hospital and getting there, and I'm like panicking and, I'm like breathing heavy, and my boyfriend takes my hand and he walks me and we tell, the check-in nurse, and she's like, okay, come inside. They put the monitors on me. They put the IV, and then she says, we're gonna check how far along you are, dilated. So they checked me on 5, which is pretty good for my first baby. And she says, you're moving pretty fast, but do you want to do Pitocin? Pitocin is actually the medicine that makes you kind of go faster and stronger contractions. So I say, yeah, it's fine. I might as well get rid of it fast, So she starts it, and within like maybe half an hour, I'm like screaming in pain. Like first I thought my contractions were strong, like nothing compared to how they are now. I'm screaming in pain, and she comes in like maybe 2 to 3 hours later, and she says to me, well, you know what, we're going to check you to see how far along you are. I said, okay, fine, I pick up my gown, and she's going to check, and when I'm scooting up, I look at her, and like she can almost like read my eyes, and she tells me, she's like, you have to push, don't you? And I said, yeah. I said, I feel like this urge that I need to push. So she looks at me and she says, okay. So she's pretty calm, she walks around and she like just reaches over behind my head, taps the button, and all of a sudden it's like 3 nurses come running in. One has like an incubator. 30 seconds later or so, and the doctor comes in. And he's gloving up, and and he looks at me and he's like, you ready, Astrid? And I'm like, well, no, I'm 16, like I'm not ready. But I do the polite thing and I smile and I nod at him, So he gloves up and walks to me. On his way, he clicks like this button, just like slaps it. And he comes and he says, and he, all of a sudden like the room like breaks open and the lights like, it's like a cylinder kind of thing, and it just comes down, and it's so bright, and just, I'm like focusing on that because, I'm like, it tells me, okay, birthing class, they tell you focus on something and it helps with the pain. So I focus on that. And I remember looking at the time, and it's about 7:17. I started about 4:45. So I'm like, okay, I only have 3 hours of labor, it's not that bad. I heard about, 38-hour labor, so I'm good. So finally she says, okay, you're crowning, which means that the head's almost out. Now I knew this because I went to birthing class. So when he says next contraction, you're gonna push. So I get myself prepared, mentally, and I'm like thinking like, okay, 7:17, the light's there, and he says, okay, you're gonna push, your contraction starting. Well, contractions, you're supposed to push chin to chest. So I'm like literally sitting there, like laying there, like trying to push, and to my surprise, I push her head out, the first push. And I don't hear anything. I'm like in so much pain. So he says, stop pushing. That's harder than pushing. So he says, next contraction, we're gonna push the body up. I said, okay, I get it. So I push my next contraction, and I don't see her because he has her like down here, and my legs are like this high, but I hear her, and she's crying, and it's like the most like, intense cry because she's just like, obviously just came to life. But he throws her on my chest, and I'm like, remember like all of a sudden when she touched my chest, I just went numb. Like there was nothing and no one around me, like nothing. I can see her crying, and she's moving and kind of like squirming, and I'm not hearing her. The only thing I'm doing is just, I'm like thinking to myself, like, this is my baby, like I need to love her, and I need to just hug her and kiss her when I do, And finally, I'm thinking to myself, like, this is so fucking gross, like I just kissed blood, But I keep doing it, like I just can't bring myself to stop. And finally, Mom popped out of my bubble by the nurse. She comes and she reaches to grab the baby from me, and I'm like looking around, and my sister comes and my mom comes, and they're kind of like, it's okay, let her go, like it's okay. So they wrap her up, they weigh her, Daddy cuts the umbilical cord. Finally, my family comes in, they spend about 3 hours or so with us, and they all start to leave, fade away. My mom's the last one to leave. And she comes and she says, she says, I'm leaving, Astrid, she kisses me goodbye, and I'm like panicking, feeling like the anxiety attack again. Like, why is she leaving me, But I don't say anything, I have too much pride for that. So she leaves, and I remember that night when my boyfriend and I were alone with her, and she cried for the first time, with us alone. And I'm trying to get up and go get her, and he's like, I got it, don't worry. So he gets her, and he comes to the chair, it's like right in front of my bed, and he just sits there with her, holding her in his arms. And I remember like not sleeping at all that night, and not being able to look away from them, like just watching him as he's just holding her and just watching her the entire night. You know, and at that moment I knew, like, okay, things could be okay, you know. We would be all right. Him and I would be okay, but most importantly, my baby and I would be okay. You know, and that was the best day of my life, the day I became a mother at 16.